Hello, today I'm going to show you how VOYXU, or symbols, completely control your mind and the way that you see the world. I'm going to use this as an example to show you. Now, first off, this picture itself is VOYXU. VOYXU is the use of lines, dots, or colors to reflect what is in the human mind. So this artist used color to shape this portrait of this human, and this human. There was no light that ever was recorded on this canvas. A photograph records light. A portrait using paint actually uses physical pigment. This is not a depiction of light. This is not a reflection of light. This is not light being captured on film. This is a man looking at light, letting it hit his brain, and then he is using his hand and color, physical pigment, to represent a human being. So you start off with the whole thing being VOYXU. Now within that VOYXU, there's more VOYXU. This right here. This is a number that symbolizes a year. So, how do you know where you are on a timeline invented by somebody else? Well, they will tell you. They will 100% tell you. On our timeline, it is now this. So how do you know where you are in a timeline? Well, we'll tell you how. This is how. So it's no longer this. Now it's this. So these numbers are, once again, VOYXU, attempting to represent somebody's idea of where you are in space and time. You have adopted this idea. You live by this idea. When you look at your phone, the first VOYXU that hits you is what? The time and date. And this represents that. Now over here we have another representation, a coat of arms, using symbols and colors to represent a human being. So I'm going to use some VOYXU here to represent this human being. Now this human was born, and he was born male, so we use VOYXU to say he is a man. See, VOYXU, he is a man. Okay, now, how do we know who he is? How does VOYXU or symbols lead us to understand what he is? in his time frame back here, he was called something. People called him something. And if you heard somebody call him something, you could call out the same something. You could use your vocal cords. But later, when people were trying to tell you about this human, they might not be in the same room or the same space as you to call out his name. So what do? You use VOYXU. He's of the clan Drake. So he is a Drake. And then, more specifically, he is Francis. So here we have the VOYXU that now represents this person and puts him in context of what we know about history. Now, what if I put his name like this? Now who is he? His VOYXU has changed, but his human has not. But we're going to put his proper VOYXU. And when you put proper VOYXU on a name, legally you have them all capitalized. This is how you write a legal name. So you are now forever tied to your legal name. You can't get out of it. That's one way VOYXU controls you. Now your friends might use a nickname for you. You might have a nickname. But legally you are stuck with this name, this identity. And this is what you identify with, is your name. This is VOYXU. Now, this particular human, who is called Francis Drake, was, according to her, this is, by the way, the Queen. Let me label her so you know who she is. See, now we've got some VOYXU on her. She is the Queen. She is the Queen. Here you go. She's the Queen. She, the Queen, labeled him using VOYXU. Now, she used a letter of marque, is what they call it, M-A-R-Q-U-E, to make him a privateer. See? Now he is a privateer, according to her. She has made him a privateer. Now, what does that mean? It means that she sanctioned him or said, it's okay, Francis Drake, if you steal everything that you can steal, if you can take it by force, if you can use your swords, your guns, your mind, your physical body to take anything you want from this guy over here. This guy over here is the king. He happened to be the king of Spain. So the king over here, she says, you're a privateer, Francis Drake. You can take anything you want from the king and nothing will happen to you. You are endorsed. You are fully sanctioned by me and all the forces at my control. Now the king over here, who was getting his stuff taken by Francis Drake, described Francis Drake as a pirate. So according to this king over here, well, Francis Drake is a pirate. And how do you make him into a pirate? Well, you just label him a pirate, just like she labeled him a privateer. Now, being a pirate, he's also a criminal. Because to the King of Spain, well, this guy right here, when he forcefully took what he considered his, he sees him as a criminal. Now she sees him as a hero because he is taking this guy's money, his goods, his gold, and he is giving his gold to her. So now she says he's a hero. So she's going to put some more VOYXU on him. She's going to say, you are a hero, and I am going to reward you. And put these letters, this VOYXU, in front of your name so that you can be a hero. There you go. You are a hero. Look, you're a hero. You are now Sir Francis Drake. So you get these 3 letters in front of your name when we write it down. So you are a hero, and we're going to give you the title of Sir. This is VOYXU. This is how VOYXU works right here. You take a human, you put some VOYXU on him and call him Francis Drake. And then you put some more VOYXU on him and you call him Sir Francis Drake. This is how VOYXU works right here. Is he a hero? Is he a criminal? Is he a privateer or is he a pirate? Is he anything at all without the VOYXU? And the answer to that question is yes, he is, just like you are. You are something. You are something that none of this VOYXU can describe. None of it can describe you. This is an attempt to label you. This is an attempt to put you in a category. This is an attempt to call you something and serve your means, to serve your end. Not the guy who's getting the VOYXU put on him by this guy. He wants this VOYXU, so he seeks out this VOYXU, and when he gets it from the queen, well, he proudly displays his VOYXU. He proudly uses this VOYXU, but you, as a human, need no VOYXU. You need no symbols to live. Nobody does. Our mind created VOYXU. Our mind created symbols to represent our mind. We did that. Not the Queen, not the King, not Sir Francis Drake. We did it. Now it has been stolen and it has been subverted by people like the Queen and people like the King. And how they do it? Through brute force, through violence. If this guy caught this guy and he had this VOYXU, he would be put to death. How did she protect him from death? Through violence. If these guys tried to touch him, her forces could attack them and protect her VOYXU, her privateer, her hero, her Sir Francis Drake. This is how VOYXU works, and you are subject to it right now because you have a legal name and then you have a prefix. It could be Mr., it could be Mrs., it could be Miss. But you are living under the same VOYXU that was all the way back here. Look at the difference. You see a difference in this, right? What is it? Don't even worry about it. It's a long, quote unquote, time. So, and VOYXU's been around way before this. But this is how long modern day English VOYXU has been being used by these people right here to promote violence, to promote theft, to promote dishonesty, to promote death. So when you use VOYXU, or when you are subject to VOYXU, when you become aware of it, you can then at least try to break out of it or try to do something different if you want to. Now, if you have this prefix in front of your name and you have a letter from the Queen that says that you can steal anything from this guy you want to, kill any one of his people you want to, then you may not want to change your VOYXU. You may want to keep your VOYXU. But when you are subject to VOYXU that keeps you in place and stops you physically from reaching the goals that you want, then you may want to change your VOYXU. You may want to alter your mind to process this VOYXU in a different way. For instance, if we called all of these people with these titles of king, queen, whatever, and we use this VOYXU, legal VOYXU, we see that these three individuals or three people have something in common. They are all the same on a deep level. And this word, this VOYXU, written like this, indicates that This VOYXU indicates leader. This VOYXU indicates I own everything. This VOYXU indicates, well, you're also human. You're also human. You're also human. So if we use VOYXU like that, we can free the mind. We can open the mind. Just as this VOYXU closes the mind and makes this human a quote-unquote queen, which she may not be outside of using violence to enforce that idea. Without violence, she may not be the queen. Without violence, he may not be the king. Without violence, he may have not been able to be a sir. What we do know is that with this VOYXU right here, we can understand with our mind something different than with the VOYXU that is forced upon us with violence. So choose your VOYXU carefully.